Welcome to Saturday Live with MSP and Inspire Me Today show. The suspended international flights, most of the domestic ones, derailed train travels, and the fear of COVID has been preventing many travelers from going on unnecessary holidays and travel. This has obviously had a catastrophic effect on the businesses. It is quite plausible that the demand will not return to the pre pandemic levels till 2023. In fact, the recovery will be unique to each region, destination, and property. All our guest speakers today cater to millennial travelers smitten by untapped destinations and laid back holidays. Let me introduce them briefly. Joining us today, we have Aditi Balbir, founder of V Resorts. V Resorts provides boutique experiences in the leisure travel space to the global travelers in India and introduces them to unexplored localized experiences. We have Kumar Anubhav, founder of Not on Map, who believes that every village is a potential destination. We also have Manoj Kumar, business head of Putnam Farm Resorts, Hyderabad. Putnam Farm Resorts offers you off the beaten path staycation experiences. I would also like to take a moment to thank Putnam Farm Resorts to sponsor the show today. I welcome you all and thank you for being a part of this. So, beginning with you, Anubhav, how relevant or important have homestays? Are homestays going to become in the COVID era? Do you think more and more travelers would prefer B&Bs over hotels?
Yeah, thank you, Arushi. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us out here. Well, coming to your question, definitely, I think this is the time when the way people used to travel earlier versus the people will travel post-COVID is going to change for sure. Not just physically, but also mentally and psychologically. And that's not talking about just travel, but overall sphere of the way we actually live in our day-to-day life. Now, having said that, if you look at the thought process which will go on at the back of the traveler's mind, that will be based on the guidelines, that will be based on the restrictions, that will be based on the WHO's guidelines also, which they will have to keep in mind while going there. Now, let's look at when you talk about comparing the hotels versus these homestays, I definitely see that people will surely prefer to actually travel to the homestays. But before that, I think it's important to know what type of travelers will be traveling, and that actually drives them there. And I think at this stage, primarily, again, that's our sense and based on our market research also, is that the mostly the solo travelers or a little bit people who are like adventurous with the mindset, people who are little skeptical, those who are not ready to take the risk, they would right now take a little pause for themselves to travel. That's I'm talking about the leisure travel. We're not talking about the essential travel. Essential travel will anyway happen the way it will be required to. Well, we look at this solo and those adventurous travel. These people definitely earlier also, and even in today's world mostly, they prefer the destinations which are like the homestays or the places which are not like a typical standard where somebody has to maintain 10 or 20 rooms, because there the responsibility and the time it takes to do that is already at risk. I believe that mostly people will be either choosing 4-star, 5-star sort of hotels or resorts where they are more confident that they will get the quality, or it's going to be the other way around because they are like secluded, they are away. Most of them are untouched, unaffected with the COVID, and also they know that they are secluded. So they're like there might be one house, they can actually keep themselves in the cocoon of that particular house, and they ensure that okay, only few people are they are interacting with. So I believe that that traction definitely is going to be there with respect to the homestay. That's my thought so far. Yeah.
I second with you on that one. And coming to you, Aditi, most businesses are now shifting off premises. Restaurants are banking on takeout and delivery. But for hotel and small time lodge owners, what does the future look like to you? Because they don't have the option to go off premises.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit of a different view than Anubhav.
I believe personally that people, there is a lot of pent up demand. So in fact, while the essential travel is going to fall, the leisure travel is actually going to see a spike like you've never seen before. Pent up travel or pent up demand usually comes from the metros. So at least if we talk about the 868 metros that are out there, those customers are going to travel like nothing that we've seen before, but albeit for a short period of time. I also don't agree with you on the recovery of the travel sector. We're probably talking about the foreign travel, and that definitely, can happen. That it will take some time to revive. But if we look at the domestic sector firstly has been our main sector of income generation, and secondly, like I said, that all the income, the families with those incomes, we're talking about the middle class, people who are looking at taking frequent breaks, I think they are bound to travel as the state boundaries open. Just to give you general examples, we have been forced to put up on our all our social media handles on our websites that we're not operational, because you cannot believe the queries that are getting. There are lots and lots of queries of people who want to travel, right? I do agree on the fact that people will be very comfortable going to open places. I don't know if you've seen certain advisories that have come out, that the famous doctors have come out with. They're talking about how risk is very low in case of surface, very high in case of small, or in case of constrained spaces where there is a central air conditioner, basically, right? So, five-star, four-star hotels, their rooms filling up, I don't see that happening for some time. However, the category that we both are operating in, where there are small boutique properties, which are absolutely secluded being the key word. I think customers will be absolutely dying to go to these properties. Just to give you a general idea, where even in properties where I would say the rooms are, or the villas are close to each other, we have decided that post, as the state boundaries open, we're going to keep one room in the middle that's going to be empty. So if we do that, in any case, the norms of social distancing are being more than met in these open resorts. The second thing is that if you look at travel, the first type of travel that is going to revive is going to be people who will sit in their cars and will drive to these. We're still very iffy about sitting in airplanes. I think the whole concept of wearing a PPE and getting on a plane, no one's comfortable with. So I do agree with that, but I do not at all agree with the fact that only solo people and very few backpackers are going to go there. I think the entire cities are going to get up and they're going to throng the tourist locations which are around them, where you can sit in a car and you can go to those properties. Now, when I look at homestays, and we have a lot of homestays as well, the only challenge is to convince the customer that we're taking all those precautions that are being taken by any other hotel. So the entire thing related to digital use of digital technologies, no touch or minimal touch, ensuring that social distancing norms are maintained, all those things are something that you have to convince. If you're giving one homestay to one family, then of course the risk mitigates even more. So it's even better, right? So maybe for those cottages which are 4-room cottages, it is better right now to give them to a family. But that said, I believe that if we can convince them that hygiene levels are top notch, and that even if there is a case of COVID that happens, we know how to deal with it, I think customers will definitely come to us.
So we have both the viewpoints there, and it's interesting to know that travelers do still want to travel. I'm coming to you, Manoj. आप अपनी पूरी प्रॉपर्टी एक कपल के लिए भी रेंट आउट करते हैं, आपके प्राइसेस भी काफी रीजनेबल है, इनफैक्ट आप उन्हें खाना बनाने की भी इजाजत देते हैं अपनी प्रॉपर्टी पर। तो अभी आपके प्रॉपर्टी पर आप ऐसे क्या स्टेप्स उठा रहे हैं कि जो कस्टमर्स हैं वो सेफ फील करें?
अभी जैसे कस्टमर्स जो बुकिंग करते हैं तो हम लोग से भी पूछते हैं कि आप लोग कैसे मतलब सेफ हो, या किसी को बुखार है या किसी की तबीयत खराब है, तो हम लोग उनको बताते हैं कि हम लोग जब से लॉकडाउन हुआ है तब से लेके अभी तक ना तो हमारा स्टाफ कहीं बाहर गया है, हम लोग स्टाफ को अंदर ही रखते हैं, उनको रूम प्रोवाइड करा गया है, स्टाफ अंदर ही रहता है, और हमने मेडिकल टेस्ट कराया है स्टाफ का, और ये लॉकडाउन खत्म होने के बाद भी उनका मेडिकल टेस्ट कराया है। और हम लोग जो बुकिंग करते हैं तो कस्टमर से भी हम लोग पूछते हैं कि आपको भी किसी का बुखार या किसी का सर्दी जुकाम या कुछ है, सब पूरा इंफॉर्मेशन लेके उसके बाद में हम लोग बुकिंग कंफर्म करते हैं।
Okay. Anubhav, do you have such properties, unique properties registered on your platform which offer such unique experiences? And what kind of demand do such properties have?
See, definitely, our most of our properties are pretty much unique, and it's limited to the rural community empowerment. So it is deep down hidden somewhere. In terms of the demand, I mean, we have really received a lot of queries, as Aditi was also talking about. She is absolutely right that we are getting definitely demands for those kind of places. And not just one, just because of the state and government restrictions, we have to be very careful. And there are many other things also we have to be careful. But if I look at like primarily talking about north, so in the north, like in the mountainous regions, we have got huge demand. Surprisingly, even when the summers are not the season time for Rajasthan, we have got demands for even for Rajasthan. Not too sure how was the experience, Aditi, with you, but then people are interested, and she's absolutely right that yes, people from the metropolis, they are interested to move out with the driving distance like 7 to 10 hours maximum distance of travel. So the mountain parts of the north and even in the northeast, I mean, huge amount of queries. I mean, some days we have received more than 100 queries also. But just that we have to be very careful, and we have a very strict criteria. Not possible to talk in this short time. I'll be happy to share about, but we have actually devised the guidelines for those communities, for the travelers, and even for people like us to be followed, in these times.
Uh, so Anubhav, that's a very valid point you made there. And coming back to reassuring the customers of a COVID safe environment, what health and sanitization plans and procedures have you put in place? And how are your employees on property being trained? And how do you ensure a COVID safe environment for them? I would like Aditi to answer that.
Sure. I'll take a small example to explain. Like Anubhav said, the measures that we're taking are pretty extensive. Okay. The first one being that instead of typically in these resorts, when you enter, you expect a very friendly face, and then you expect them to stand, with a tray of napkins and maybe a welcome drink. Okay. Now that is being substituted. In fact, the poor boy who is going to pick up the luggage and who's going to stand at the gate, he is going to be in a PPE, at least for now. Especially for people who are coming, in through our cities, because the COVID situation is pretty bad there. And he is going to be standing with a sanitization tray in his hand. Okay, the first thing that will happen is a thermal check, and after that, you're going to have to sanitize your hands, your face, and only then you can enter the resort. Then you will see that there will be a whole lot of people. So, there will be one person on standby who will be at all times, keep on sanitizing the high touch surfaces that we call the high touch surfaces. So, things like the railings, etc. Once you see the family go in, you'll see that somebody will be trailing them and will be sanitizing those surfaces. Then when you go inside, again, like I said, you usually expect a very friendly face, in the on the front office. And here, however, you will see those circles which will determine how far you have to stay from that man. He will not be wearing a PPE, but he will definitely have a mask and a face shield. And we will ensure that there's absolutely nothing that requires touch. So he cannot use a credit card, he cannot use a pen, he cannot, there is nothing that will be done, with any touch. It will all be through digital. Now, the second thing that we're figuring out is how to sanitize the key. So the key is basically the one which has a lot of touch, right? Because you have to take that key and then hand it over to that person. Right now, we don't have a digital solution, but for the time being, what we're doing is that we're going to take the key, sanitize it in front of the guest, and then hand it over to him. So you'll have to go into details of each process to really understand the sort of hygiene standards that are going to come into play. When the November attacks happened, we were all so uncomfortable for some time to enter a property and then, go through that whole security system, put our bags through it, such a pain. Now, obviously, nobody even thinks twice about it.
So I think these are measures that will become very normal. People will be pretty comfortable about it. And I think they will right now, at least for the time being, feel safer. They will not feel irritated. So like I said, I've written an article which says hygiene is the new service. So instead of cribbing about, मेरे को ये अच्छी service नहीं मिली है, they are going to first figure out that hygiene, whether the hygiene is at a top quality level or not.
Well, Aditi, that sounds promising. But speaking of standalone businesses, what will be a perfect post-crisis action plan? I mean, how can they utilize this downtime to optimize revenue? Anubhav.
Yeah, sure. I mean, see, I think it's one very clearly said that something which is not in your control, you should not worry too much about it. I will come back from the experience of our kind of places, which is totally different from the resorts which Aditi is actually handling. And what works for the hotels and the resorts, unfortunately, doesn't work for us because they are pretty much rural pockets. But still, I would say that what can we do in these times? That is more important. Revenue, of course, is important. Like a lot of people have been talking about, and I'm sure Aditi, you would have also had the experience. People looking out for longer vacations, so something like, are you ready to offer like 7 days of a stay? Are you ready to offer 15 days and that much discounted it, of course keeping those COVID specific criteria of course in mind. So trying to come up with the vacation sort of stuff, trying to come up with the long stay, and also looking out for the intra district travel. So earlier you might be focusing on international travel, for example. That is going to be not happening, maybe at least in next 1 year for sure, 1.5 years. Even in domestic travel, let's try to focus on the nearby. Now if you talk about the individual homestays, for them it's not so easy to market. They do not know so much of marketing dynamics to actually target to the nearby. And that's where I think people like us who actually are having the access and knowledge, we need to actually step up and talk about. So we need to actually identify the country and map it completely, like what are the orange zone, green zones, red zones. Basis those zones, our marketing strategy has to be there. Okay, let's try to talk to them. But of course, while talking all those things, while inviting, we have to be careful in those things. I think we need to be flexible a lot. So think, customers will be few, supply will be too much. So who will be controlling the market? It's the customer. So in that case, of course, price reduction, safety guidelines, those are given. Can you do something beyond on top of that? And that is what will drive people who is going to be on the face or other on the front face. And so they have to be very flexible. They have to do things which they have, like Putnam Farms, like Manoj you said, he's offering, you are ready to cook at my place. Some people earlier might not be allowing guests. They have to come forward now. Reduce the cancellation policy. Like you, maybe we have started doing this thing. Okay, you pay and you use it maybe for the next 3 years, 4 years, whatever time. If I talk about our stays, they are in the remote pockets. I asked like a lot of homestay owners. Imagine there was no tourism business at all. You were supposed to rent it out to in a village. How much rent will you get? Now compare that money with whatever. So you can even operate at bare minimum, no profit, no loss. So think from the mindset that even a single customer coming to you is not a money. He's going to be a marketing agent for the future when the market opens up. So I think it's about coming up with new offering, creating new packages, being flexible. That's very much important. Flexible from all perspective, reducing your comfort versus coming to the comfort of the customer. You might do things which you were not doing earlier before at all. So come up and open and try to, of course, keeping those caveats, those star mark points that, okay, no compromise on the hygiene guidelines and those things which Aditi mentioned. Of course, something with respect to the homestay, there will be some other guidelines. So that needs to be followed up.
I hope your points are jotted down by these standalone businesses and startups. And also, I would like to add there that technology also should be leveraged to enable a safe environment. Aditi, would you like to elaborate more on how the technological use can be maximized to ensure contactless experiences for the customer?
So, like I mentioned, we have, post the lockdown, we had to close out our properties. And, like Manojji also mentioned, our staff is very much there in the properties. Now, instead of actually focusing on, the fact that they're not running and what's going to happen, we actually looked at it a little bit differently. We have basically geared our resources to think about technology and how technology can be used. Now, since they are at the local level, they are the best people to come up with with content. So what we've done is we've basically thought about two or actually three very high touch points where our people used to travel for, for certain things. So one of them was training. So for training, because we had staff at, across 20 states, we used to basically send trainers from here to the property who would go there, visit very frequently, and basically train them. Now what we are doing is that apart from the first training, which I still believe that there should be some touch there, apart from that, the next trainings, all the technical trainings, all the trainings will be delivered through our training platform, which is going to be sort of like a virtual reality based training platform. It allows you to basically only do learning through simulations, case studies, scenario building, so that people at the local level, basically you have to make it make a platform such that they understand, right? So we're basically focusing on a very simple, easy to use training platform so that our travel becomes less. Then the second thing that we are doing and we're digitalizing is the entire audit process. So there will be timestamped photos, there will be computer check, there will be camera and video checks, and the technology again will enable us to not travel so frequently for audit on ground, because that used to again be a huge part of our travel cost and our bill. Now, the last thing is our sustainability. Sustainability practices is something that we are very, very, we're very proud of, and that's something that we call as a USP. Those practices also we're trying to figure out how we can deliver them to those resorts, to the owners digitally through the platform rather than really visiting. So what it does is basically two things. You're looking at building assets today which will generate revenues for you later on. They can be scaled like crazy, so it doesn't mean that only V Resorts needs to use them. Anybody outside can use them. Honestly, I feel that they're perfect for any single or standalone property that's out there. Okay, so there is a good, there's one new product that we have now under our umbrella. And the idea is also that you are reducing costs, which is very apparent. You're able to scale faster, you're reducing costs because you don't need such a large staff which is traveling all the time to these properties. So these are some of the initiatives that we're working on.
And adding on to what you said, Aditi, I feel that the crisis is separating winners from losers on the basis of their digital marketing presence.
Right.
So, how much focus have you shifted to digital marketing, and what more have you been doing to recall your brand?
So I just want to tell you that we are a brand which has never advertised offline. We've never gone offline ever. We've never done events. We've never done advertising. We only look at online platforms, and we only look at online platforms for delivery. Now, the easiest thing to do when you're looking at digital platforms was that when the COVID situation happened and you knew that the people are not going to travel, you just cut your marketing costs, because where's the money going? It's going in Google ads, Facebook ads. So you just cut that part, right? And it's so easy to do because it's quick. Now, like I said, we did maintain presence on all our handles. We used to keep posting, we used to keep generating, awareness about what's happening. But we were getting crazy number of queries. The team was, not being able to handle. So we had to put up those things saying that, look, we're not here. We're coming back soon. Don't worry. As soon as, the state boundaries open, we're there. So
one of the points, Arushi and Aditi, I would like to add. That's what I mean. We exactly we have also like been absolute like by word of mouth and on the social media only. That's been our sort of marketing. But beyond that, talking about the technical part of it, how we have leveraged this particular time to talk about and how it can be used. See, we realize this thing that the power of mobile phones has come a lot more. Typically, I'm talking about the rural pocket. That's where we actually operate. So those people where we operate earlier, they were not so much used to using the mobile phones for anything else except maybe WhatsApp and Facebook. Yeah. Now today the education system has also started and a lot of things has started. So their ease of use of mobile phones for things beyond Facebook and WhatsApp has increased, and their acceptance has also increased. So what we did that practically see is practically not possible for an entity to actually reach out and go and actually do this thing, as Aditi also mentioned. And that's what our model has been since beginning, that we have been actually doing it online since beginning. Now the thing is, now we are asking those people in the homestays, why don't you use mobile phones? Take pictures, take videos, even if it is a poor quality, but that's your essence, even if it is a poor quality, and just try to put it wherever you can. at least people will get a sense. They might, of course, it might not be the quality of the grades, but people do realize that this video has been taken by a poor person, or maybe a rural pocket, or somebody who didn't know how to use it. Now people would understand that thing. And when we say that, okay, do not take pictures, go beyond self. Don't talk just about yourself. Don't just talk about your homestay. Why don't you look around your surface? And that's where there are other communities, other family members, your villages. And the fact of the matter is that the travelers who go there, they do not go just to stay there. They go to actually experience the other part. I'm not saying that, okay, the travelers will experience by these kind of videos, but at least they'll keep in the memory. And as Aditi also mentioned, when the market opens up, the memory will be fresh in the mind. So rather than sitting idle, use technology, take these pictures, and we are also helping to promote those people so that people can come forward. And in future, when market opens up, they will be actually remembered by the travelers.
ग्रेट। मनोज, आपका भी अच्छा खासा वेब प्रेजेंस है, गूगल एड्स भी आप यूज करते हैं, आप अपने कस्टमर्स के साथ कैसे कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं?
कस्टमर के साथ में मैडम जैसे कि है कि कस्टमर को अगर कुछ बुक करना है तो डायरेक्ट ऑनलाइन भी बुक हो रहा है और फ़ोन पे भी बुक होता है। तो जैसे कि मुझे कॉल करके, सर को कॉल करके, या डायरेक्ट ऑनलाइन या मेल से चाहे वो बुक कर सकते हैं। और हम लोग अगर वो लोग जैसे भी कस्टमर बुकिंग आ रहा है तो वो लोग पूछ रहा है कि मुझे इमीडिएट फोटो खींच के बताओ, तो हम लोग इमीडिएट वहाँ पे रूम्स का फोटो और पूरा हर चीज़ का फोटो खींच के उनको व्हाट्सएप वीडियो कॉलिंग भी कर रहा है। वीडियो कॉलिंग भी उनको दिखाया जा रहा है कि हमारे पास कैसा है, कैसा हम लोग मेंटेन कर रहे हैं, कैसा सैनिटाइजर कर रहे हैं, कैसा हम लोग कोविड के खिलाफ कैसा हम लोग साफ सफाई मेंटेन कर रहे हैं। तो वो सब देख के उसके बाद में वो बुकिंग कर रहा है।
Anubhav, a lot of these standalone businesses like Manoj and many others may not be adept to handling technology. Do you think you guys can provide a kind of a formal training for them, because this is going to be new normal? They have to have a digital presence.
Right. No, actually, Arushi, that's exactly what we have been doing. And as part of our training modules, we have actually a series of 5 step of training modules in which the first 2 levels are physical and the rest 3 levels are actually all digital. So, but keeping this COVID in mind, we are actually preparing another set of training modules which are going to be utilized for, and that's going to be open source for all to use. And that will be typically not just to talk about how to talk to customers, it's going to be spanning across all layers of the customer engagement and also to manage your places. And it's not just 1 2, it's going to be more than 70 80 sort of training modules. So we are actually working on that, and right now also we are continuing to do that. Even in this COVID times, we are training our host. We have our team members who are actually working on that. And right now we have conducted more than, I think we have trained more than 1200 pockets in India across different states. And when we train, we're not talking about one person, we're talking about a village community. So one person, we are training the trainers basically, and they will be actually training the further people. So that's what our strategy has been so far. But one of the things I would like to add to what Manoj आपने भी जो बोला कस्टमर के लिए, तो एक कस्टमर एंगेजमेंट में आई थिंक हमें अभी करना चाहिए, शायद बहुत सारे लोग कर भी रहे होंगे। वो चीज ये है कि जब कस्टमर हमसे बात करे या बुकिंग के लिए करे, उसी समय बात करना, एक तो वो चीज है। लेकिन इस समय बिल्डिंग ट्रस्ट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, एंड बिल्डिंग ट्रस्ट अक्रॉस ऑल स्टेक होल्डर्स। अब हमारे स्टेक होल्डर कौन कौन से हैं? सो इट्स आवर द पीपल हु आर वर्किंग इन आवर होम स्टे, जो हमारे साथ काम कर रहे हैं, जो हमारे कस्टमर थे वो भी हो गए हमारे, जो हमारे ट्रैवल एजेंट सो कॉल्ड जिनसे भी हमें बुकिंग मिलती होगी वो सारे भी हो गए। Ideally, this is the time when we should actually build trust across all these 3 layers. अब ये सभी के साथ ट्रस्ट बिल्ड करने का अलग अलग तरीका होगा। आपने कस्टमर की बात की थी आरुषि, एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई वुड लाइक टू से कि कस्टमर से हमारे जितने भी पास्ट कस्टमर आए होंगे, आई एम श्योर हो सकता है मनोज जी आपने किया भी होगा, और सभी जितने भी इंडिविजुअल लोग अभी अपना अगर लोग देख भी रहे हैं, आइडियली उन सभी को अपने पास्ट कस्टमर से 1-on-1 उनको फोन करके बात करनी चाहिए। कोई बात नहीं है, पिछले 500 1000 हमारे पास समय है, एक दिन में 10 लोगों से बात किया, हम लोगों से बात कर सकते हैं। So building that trust, and it should go beyond your customer, it should go to your agents also, ultimately those people who were supporting your business, उन सभी से बात करना, and building trust is a key I think at this stage. So and how to build the trust? Communication, It's not communication, it's basically over communication, something which is required at this stage. And that is what we should do. And there are many other things also which I can talk about. But yeah, just thought to put forward before the customer point was highlighted.
That's a very good point you made there, that you got to have that connect with the customer. In fact, that reminds me of an incident yesterday when I was talking to one of the artists who was selling offline earlier because she found it more soulful and she could connect better with her customers. And now that she's not able to exhibit, she has evolved herself and now has a presence online. And since the online sale conversions are difficult, if the customer hasn't had any previous experience with you, she began with posting testimonials. So I think each one of us have to evolve ourselves and
Wonderful.
make our digital media presence stronger.
Definitely. Definitely.
So now coming to the end of the show, I would like to take certain questions from our audience now. Anubhav, Rishuka Shashank is a solo female traveler, and she wants to ask you that how safe are the remote areas and what checks and procedures do you put in place to ensure safety and security of the guests?
Yeah, Rishika. So actually, this has been the question of the hour, sort of, of everybody's mind, and what Aditi was also talking about. So we are also for each of the destinations which we have in mind. We have our training modules which is in place, and we are not talking about just training. Training is not sufficient because training for a new definition of hygiene is basically bringing a cultural shift in the mindset of people. It's not easy to bring a cultural shift. It takes generation, and that's why either a policy or either a strict guideline or something like a regular audit is required. So we are not just training them, we are actually conducting regular, planning to have a regular audit process also in mind. And one thing very important, the time stamped audit is very important. So whenever what Aditi also mentioned, and that's what has been the thought process. Yes, but of course, the person when you go to the homestay, he will not be wearing PPE kit, unfortunately, in our, because for them even 500 rupees is a lot. So, but there is a different dynamics which works totally out there. So just to answer in short, that those people are well trained. They have been trained, they have been audited. They are not just homestay owners. The village council, the village पंचायत, पंचायत के लोगों तक को ट्रेन किया गया है. उन पंचायत को ही पता है, क्योंकि अगर उस घर में एक अगर ट्रैवलर आएगा तो उस पूरे गांव की इकोनॉमी बनेगी. And we have created enterprises for the villages. इसलिए वो responsibility उस केवल होम स्टे ओनर का नहीं है, वो वहां के मुखिया का भी है. और हमारे ट्रेनिंग प्रोसेस में एक होम स्टे नहीं है, वी आर ट्रेनिंग द एंटायर कम्युनिटी एज ए होल. एंड देयर इज अ प्रोसेस. In fact, district administration and even some of the state government, they have also appreciated what we are doing across different pockets. So I think that way it's not a problem. The problem is that when we go from outside, we know that we might be asymptotic. हमारा सारा कुछ टेस्ट वगैरह टेम्परेचर कुछ भी नहीं है. हाउ कैन वी इंश्योर दैट इवन अ सिंगल इन्फेक्शन टू द कम्युनिटी इज गोइंग टू बी अ काइंड ऑफ अ menace for, इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ ब्लैक स्पॉट फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस. सो हाउ डू वी इंश्योर हमें, और ये सेंसिटिविटी और ऋषि हमें हम सभी को होना चाहिए कि जब हम कभी किसी गांव में अगर जा रहे हैं, इवन दो हमें नहीं है कोविड, बट हमें ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि हमें नहीं है, क्योंकि हमें पता नहीं कि हमें है कि नहीं है. This is kind of virus, it is there. So we have to follow the guidelines, even though we are absolutely fine in all sort of physical and mental and kind of behavioral pattern. So I think that's what comment I will have for.
Aditi, you also partner with standalone owners. So, how would you like to elaborate on the same question?
So we collaborate, but we also run our own properties. They are not running the properties; we are running the properties. So, like I mentioned, in our case, all our hygiene standards are very. We are following the WHO guidelines. I gave you an example. There are many more examples. The most critical process is actually the F&B handling. So, how is the kitchen run? How well it's sanitized? How do you deal with a person who has procured materials and brought in? We actually have standardized processes through the entire vertical of the hospitality.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Aditi. I'm more. The question was that how safe will these solo travelers be in your property? Talking about the security of physical security of the guest.
Physical security or COVID related security?
No, no, not COVID related. So she's a solo female traveler and she wants to know how physically safe would she be.
By the way, we have resorts which are run by women for women. So if you are a little bit scared of going anywhere, you can do that. But that said, I can tell you that I have myself traveled alone to over 100 such properties. And, in fact, if you really look at it, the crime that exists, okay, happens all in tier 1, tier 2 towns. These hamlets are really, really untouched. They're really beautiful. Those people, when you meet the locals, and like he said, we engage with the entire local community. So you're meeting the panchayat and they are so welcoming, they are so warm, you'll never even think about security as a concern. Of course, that said, we still have guards. We have one guard during the day, one guard during the night. That's generally part of the SOP that we maintain.
Yeah.
So it's very safe.
Thank you. Rishika, I hope that is satisfactory. We also have Professor P.L. Bali who would like to ask that, would it be right to demand the medical certificate of the staff, Aditi?
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. Because the point is, in fact, we should have it as a record. Our own staff, if they get unwell, then, the entire thing just goes for a toss. And like he said, see, the problem is that this concept of social distancing in India to enforce at those levels, it's virtually impossible. Yeah, look at their homes, right? You cannot enforce those guidelines. So the problem is that if one person were to get it, then the entire village is infected. So it is very, very, it's a big matter of concern. And for us, we are going to make sure that our staff is, thermal checking will happen every day. And any symptom, if the staff has any symptom, then the entire place will be quarantined and will put on lockdown. We are not going to take chances with the customer at all. We're very sure about that. So yeah, during COVID time, frankly, it's absolutely okay to ask for anything that makes you comfortable. In fact, the more that customers ask us, the more that we will know what it takes to make them comfortable.
That sounds great. Manoj, पीयूष धवन जानना चाहते हैं कि वो अपनी एक पूरी फैमिली के साथ आपका प्रॉपर्टी रेंट करना चाहते हैं, वो आपके साथ कैसे कनेक्ट करें?
आप मुझे कॉल कर सकते हैं, सर को भी कॉल कर सकते हैं.
ओके, आपका वेबसाइट नेम?
वेबसाइट पटनम फार्म से है.
अच्छा, तो हम वो सब पीयूष, हम सब कुछ जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है, we'll put it in the description box and you can go and check it out and get in touch with them directly. Now I would also like, there's another question, Anubhav, quickly. So there's a question from Rashmi Meher. She wants to ask that we are really interested in buying a small piece of land in Himachal and opening a B&B where we reside as well. Is it viable, and what initial advice would you experts give us?
See, frankly speaking, we don't deal with such kind of associations, and we don't have any. But of course, basis my knowledge, which is I know that in Himachal, if the person is not from Himachal, then it's not easy to buy a land. You cannot buy it. There are other norms. You can take it on lease for a certain number of years. So there are a lot of restrictions which goes on. However, you can actually rent it out and then finally, run it for a certain number of years. You need to be either married to somebody in Himachal, or need to have, even if you're an Himachali person, then also there are certain other restrictions. Then you need to have an agricultural land of certain quantity before purchasing a commercial land for certain tasks. So a lot of government guidelines are there. So I'm not too sure where are you from, but then yeah, that will be my answer.
Aditi, just leave you all with one question. How can these standalone businesses partner with you?
So just before that, for the previous question, we do have properties in Himachal. So if you ever want to get in touch, you have my coordinates. Please do share, and I will let them know what the process is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Your new question was how the standalone properties?
So how the standalone properties can partner with you?
Oh, we have a very simple method. You just write to us at partners@vresorts.in or drop an email to me. I will connect you to the right department. We have 3-4 models. I don't know if I need to get into it right now, where we run the property, or if somebody needs to, if they want to run it themselves, and we have a franchise agreement. So we have 3-4 different business models, and it's up to them to choose whatever they are comfortable with. They can choose that model and then partner with us. Once they do that, then we have a 45-day period wherein we onboard the properties. So we will put in all our training modules in place. We will put in our SOPs. We'll get staff that will do the training for the staff. We never fire people. We love locals, by the way. So please be rest assured that the people who are running your property will have a good home with us. In fact, they might just see a salary increase because we are venture funded, so we have to maintain minimum wage guidelines, all of that. And then within 45 days, they'll see their property uploaded on our website, and then we'll start selling.
Okay, that indeed is very simple. Thank you, Aditi. And I hope we've been able to help as many standalone businesses and startups as possible today. I hope we have answered all your questions. Thank you so much, and I'm really sorry to miss out on any question if I have. Thank you so much for being with us, and you can always write into us at follow@mystartuptv.in to ask your question, and we'll forward it to the experts. Thank you, guests, for being with us. Thank you, Anubhav. Thank you, Aditi. And thank you so much, Manoj, for being with us. Take care. I hope you're safe.